What if Naruto discovered his power to control reality and became the god of a new world? Part 3. If you enjoy this, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Disclaimer, I don't own this What If nor Naruto. Danzo shifted in his chair and stared in the dark of the room. Back within the dark was his element, only a single candle gave light to the room, allowing him to slightly see. Multiple thoughts ran through his mind, each one trying to unravel this new light that had come to pass. Variables had to be taken in. Different instances, each one trying to destroy the other in a battle for supremacy. A thought, one plan, that was all he needed. But it couldn't fail, not now, not while he was coming so close. The future he had envisioned. It was so close now, he would not fail. The past few days have been surprising to say the least. I need to find a way to keep that Naruto brat here, or I will have to accelerate my plans. The Uzumaki clan will be a hindrance no more. The leaf will finally be under my control. I will not have this man ruin me, but first a test. Sigh. On cue, a boy appeared before Danzo and bowed before him. His pale skin shined through the darkness of the room. Danzo smiled at the boy. I want you to greet our new guest properly, Sai. Record what you can. Sai nodded and faded back into the dark of the room, leaving Danzo to gaze at the whipping flame. I still don't understand why you threw away all of my ramen. Kid, I am sure that some girls love ramen every day of the week. Hinata doesn't seem like one of them. After the storm passed yesterday, Kinshai woke up Hinata and brought her home. When he returned, however, he certainly wasn't expecting this kind of treatment. Maybe thinking at first that a good thank you or something may be in order, but no, the kid had to complain about his noodles. This was probably the one thing that got on Kinshai's nerves the most, on how well he attached to that addiction. They walked through the village on the way to Kairaku's to stock up on Naruto's favorite food. Unfortunately for Kinshai's wallet once more, as it was growing surprisingly lighter during his time with Naruto. Naruto sighed in acceptance. Well, I guess she isn't that fond of ramen. I still have no idea how you messed up making cinnamon buns that bad. It was my first time making them, give me a break. For a moment Kinshai could have sworn Naruto switched places with his mother, the same na-a-tilde-macron-v attitude towards almost anything. Inexperience, it would be better just to let the kid off, rather than experience the full wrath that an annoyed Naruto had to offer. Alright kid, I give you this one. Naruto smiled as he got Kinshai off his back. Quickly switching the conversation, he figured it was time to get to know some of the people that Naruto had known. So, tell me about your friends. Naruto put his hand on his chin, seemingly thinking, well, first would be Sasuke and Sakura. Sasuke is a dumb who always tries to prove he is better than everyone, but even though he tried to leave, he is my friend. Sakura has been acting strange this last couple of days. After I returned, it is like she is avoiding me or something. And I might have a good idea why. Kinshai nodded. Might want to have a chat with Sakura later. Kakashi-sensei is cool, even if he is always reading that pervert book of his. Shikamaru and Choji are around the same. They are almost always together and watching clouds or something. Ino, who is also on their team, has been nice to me these last couple of days as well, more than usual. Those four are safe. Asuma-sensei is alright, I guess. We haven't really talked along with Kurenai-sensei. Jiraiya is a seinen, but he is nothing but a pervert. Not only does he write those books, but I caught him peeping on women, more than once. Rock Lee and Might Guy are crazy with training. I once saw them run 100 laps around the leaf. On their hands. They are weird but are really dedicated people. Didn't know he knew the word dedicated. Nejai and Tintin are fine. Nejai used to be a jerk, but after I beat him in the Chunin exams, he has been nice to me. Don't tell anyone, but I am sure they are in a relationship. He beat the Hyuga genius. I will have to check onto that. And Kiba and Shino are cool. Kiba is always loud and annoying, but Shino is quiet. They don't act like it, but they are like brothers. He looked like he was about to continue but stopped talking for a moment as they continued down the street. Naruto? Aren't you forgetting someone? Yeah, I just don't know how to describe her. Naruto stopped walking. I mean, she is a little weird, but in a good way. She never gives up or stops trying. Although a lot of people call her weak, she is seriously strong. Now that I think about it, she is one of the only people who have believed in me from the start. His thought was cut off from Kenshai's laugh. If I didn't know any better, I would say you had a crush. Oh, not you too. Naruto turned around and faked pouting. Alright, Naruto, I'm sorry. Come on, let's go get your ramen. Naruto didn't follow but stayed put. Kenshai turned around to see that Naruto hadn't moved. Hey, are we? I think I will go. Kenshai's eyes widened as he continued. I want to meet my family. Everyone says I should go and I want to, but what? Even what this village did to me, even through the pain. Well, there are some things that I don't want to leave behind, things that are precious to me. Kenshai nodded, knowing what he was talking about. They will wait, if you give them a reason to, they are your friends. And remember, you can bring one person if you wish, but the person can't be from this village, maybe Jiraiya. We will go tomorrow. Naruto nodded as Kenshai stood back up to his full height, towering slightly above Naruto. Alright, let's go replenish your addiction for tonight. Two figures sat at the training grounds. One was hastily eating his food while the other seemed to stare in awe of the other. It was disgusting, horrifying, and amazing at the exact same time. There were almost no words towards Naruto's ability. As the kid finished his fifth container of the food and reached for the next, Kenshai tried to stop the boy. Don't you ever get full? Naruto shook his head as he continued slurping down his food, absorbing the food within a few seconds. Kenshai smiled at the boy as he downed another container. The forest was devoid of noise, allowing them to enjoy the moment. And that had Kenshai worried. No noise, birds, insects, anything. Something was here, watching them. Before Naruto could even react, Kenshai was behind him and a few Senbon lay on the ground, seemingly deflected by the angle they were thrown in. And in that angle, towards Naruto's neck. How was Kenshai that fast? The man looked around the area slightly before resting upon one area in the trees. Show yourself. Naruto stood up and looked at the figure that landed in front of the duo. He was seriously pale and wearing the leather outfit of an Anbu, but instead of an animal mask he wore a blank one. It was different, almost no emotions showed from the boy. He spoke in a very monotone voice, barely showing emotion as he bowed respectfully towards the duo. Hello, my name is Sai, I am here to judge you. Kenshai sighed. Look, I rather not kill you in front of Naruto, so I will give you this one chance to go. I will count to 10. Sai pulled out his scroll and paintbrush in a flourish, not wanting to wait till the man even began counting. Ninja art, Super Beast scroll. Sai put brush to scroll as seemingly paintings of war dogs came to life and rushed out of the paper, charging at Kenshai with a murderous intent. The man only shifted slightly to the side as black dogs came charging after him, only seeming to touch his sword, and in an instant they exploded in front of him, back into their ink form, covering the area in front of the man in a black ink, as if they returned back to art. Kenshai only seemed disappointed, sighing slightly and shaking his head. Fine, your choice. Sai grimaced as he wrote again, this time producing a giant hawk. Soaring into the sky quickly and diving back towards the ground Sai stood upon. Leaping upwards, Sai landed on the back of the giant winged creature and charged after Kenshai with a short sword he had produced from his back in hand. Whatever shall come, whatever shall happen, nothing would allow this mission to fail. Kenshai sighed, turning to Naruto with an almost saddened look in his eye. He had hoped not to use this jutsu, it was horrifying, even to himself. Maybe the kid shouldn't watch this, it wouldn't give the greatest impression. Naruto, cover your eyes. As the child charged with full intent to kill, Kenshai turned towards the hawk. The crimson blade at the ready before the hawk made contact. Naruto quickly covered his eyes, turning all senses away as all of them were filled of the wretched screams of pain. They echoed throughout the forest as Naruto tried to block them out of the mind. This was worse than pain, this was torture. Whatever he was doing, whatever was happening, it was maddening. They stopped as suddenly as they came and he felt a hand placed on his shoulder. Reassuring and comforting, a calm voice echoing into his ear. "You can open them now, Naruto." Slowly, the sense of vision returned to his eyes, expecting to see a nightmare. But the forest seemed to have not changed at all. Even Kenshai showed no signs of battle for fatigue, as if the battle hadn't taken place. "What? I drove him off. I scared him a lot, but he left." Quickly standing, Naruto took another look around the area, checking for signs of battle. The ink still stained the area, slightly faded now and turning gray with time. The few senbons still upon the ground where he left them, but as to the battle itself, nothing was there. Either the guy did leave, or something worse happened. Trying to turn the mind away from that thought, he turned to the uncle. "Who was he?" "I don't know. He didn't have a headband, but he was trained in the ninja arts. I haven't seen him before though." Turning back to the area where the battle once had taken place, Kenshai grimaced a little. This isn't what he needed today. Another unknown, what could possibly be any worse? "Come on, let's go back to the village." Nodding once again, Naruto followed the silent command of picking up after himself. Collecting all the scattered containers before returning to the armored ninja's side. Danzo looked at Sai with disgust in his expression. Even with the boy in pain, he did not care. Only the mission mattered, and he had failed his master, his savior. What did Sai have to say for himself? The tone of Danzo's voice showed as much, a sense of failure laced on every syllable. "How could you fail me?" Sai, now missing an arm, and a large slash across his stomach, showed. He bowed painfully. Barely noticing the state at which the body was in, only his master mattered now, and he was not likely to be happy. Red juice dripped from the large cut held by the right arm, keeping slight pressure on the wound to stop the bleeding. But as the blood continued to drip, and breathing came as a great pain, Sai continued to show humility. "I am sorry, he was beyond my abilities." "How so?" "He was fast, beyond the word actually, I don't know how. He seemed to use almost the same technique as the fourth from what I read, but his style of the jutsu was different. He wasn't releasing much chakra but seemed to use his sword, but the problem was, not once in the battle did he unsheath it, only barely releasing it from his side. Sort of like the style that Mifune wields in the northern Iron Lands. He must have been superior in Genjutsu as well. He made me feel fear." Danzo grimaced. It is no surprise that he knows that jutsu. He was his brother-in-law, and to make you feel is also quite a feat. "How did you lose your arm then?" "Like I said, Lord Danzo, he was fast. If he did unsheath the blade, I didn't see him do it. I am sorry I failed you, it won't happen again." "You're right." He quickly pulled out Sai's own sword from his back and cut his throat, his body falling on the floor in a pool of his own crimson. Without hesitation, without hatred, he had failed, plain and simple. There was no use for a broken or useless tool. It was only a matter of time before Sai had run his course. He was never one that would make it far. His brother showed more promise. How unfortunate the other survived. Maybe then the tool wouldn't need to die, and the flaw in the plan would be removed. If the man saw you again, he would capture you, Sai. I don't need anyone giving out my secrets, so it is better this way. Fu, dispose of the body. A orange-haired nin appeared from the shadow of the room, picking up the boy's body. Removing it from sight before Danzo could gaze at the boy anymore. The pool of crimson still filled the room, however, that would need to be dealt with. "You are becoming a problem, Kenshai. But no matter, you will not get in my way." Kenshai stood in front of the Hokage as he gave the report from being attacked. The words flowing easily, and the battle quickly described. Tsunade kept her head in her hands the entire time. It didn't help that she had a hangover when he told her this. After disposing of the addiction, the two went to the Hokage, hoping that she could give some light on the situation. But unfortunately for them, she sighed. "I'm sorry, I don't have a ninja by that description." Kenshai nodded, accepting that Tsunade knew just about every ninja on the force. So not recognizing one would be a suspicion. Maybe the child belonged to another village? But that was sincerely doubtful. Removing that train of thought, however, there was another thought on mind. And on another note, Naruto has made his choice, right? The blonde nodded as he turned back to Tsunade. The voice coming from the child was slightly heavy, still slightly uneasy about this decision but ready anyway. I am going with him. She nodded, smiling. Good, I hope you learn something. How long do you expect to keep him? Maybe until the next Chunin exams. Making a quick note, she quickly a sheet of paper from her desk, skimming it slightly. That's not that long away, actually only a few weeks. Actually no, we sent out word to the other hidden villages, minus the Kumo village, for they were the main force in destroying us in the last war, but the Send has agreed to send the message for us. So as to avoid any other conflict, the villages proposed a standby on the official Chunin exams, so that way we can ready ourselves, and we should be ready in about 2 years. In the agreement, the villages can produce Chunin if absolutely needed. I guess the other villages really want to meet us as well. And what would qualify? Well, they would have to be skilled first off, but the main reason is that it is not right to ask the villages to only have Chunin in their villages. That would be wrong. So they made it to where the villages can only appoint a promotion to several nin every time an official exam should start until we are ready. And the records would have to be looked over by the cages to see if they are qualified. The other villages have been approached with this and accepted it. Do you? Putting the calendar away, Tsunade turned her full attention upon the task at hand. I think that is acceptable. The next exams in 2 years then will be held in the Leaf. When we come back, I will give Naruto the option if he wants to register in as a ninja from the Leaf or Whirlpool. What? He is a ninja from the Leaf and he will stay that way. But if the boy decides to stay with me, I am not going to leave him without a status. When he comes with me, he will be automatically placed as a Chunin. And when the time arrives, he can decide for himself, and I am sure that if he changes his mind either way, he will still be a Chunin. Tsunade thought for a moment, placing her hands on her forehead. The hangover once again coming back, and with a vengeance. Has Jiraiya said if he is going to go? A large white-haired man seemed to phase into the room and laughed, smiling widely, writing into a small book. I think I will take you up on that offer. Who knows what research I will gain there. Before Tsunade could hit the Toad Sage across the Leaf, Kenshai grabbed his shoulder and squeezed, the group shuddering from hearing multiple crunches and cracks from his shoulder as Kenshai spoke. Jiraiya, I am going to make one thing clear. You are there to help teach Naruto, nothing more and nothing less. If I see you even look at a girl wrong, I will cut off your hands. He let go of his shoulder as Jiraiya held it in pain, enrolling it slightly. Yeah, hi to you too. Although Tsunade was glad that Kenshai shut him up, she knew that now he was going to be a problem at the hospital. Each time the man visited, he seemed to be more trouble than he was worth. Although he was an old friend, he still needed to get out of that habit. If only he could just stay in one place, and not be the self-proclaimed hermit that he was. That would fix a lot more than just one problem actually. Jiraiya rubbed his shoulder again, feeling the pain move away slightly. The man certainly had a grip. His attention in the conversation returning as Kenshai turned to Naruto. We will go tomorrow, but don't worry about saying goodbye today. I will request that your friends meet us at the gate before we go. Now go home, I have some things to discuss with the Hokage. Naruto nodded and headed out the door, waving back before disappearing into the hallway. Tsunade laughed, a sudden pain rushing to her head as she forgot her slight hangover. I can't believe how much Sakaki listens to you. I am his uncle. Jiraiya rubbed his chin, his eyes suddenly in deep thought. What I still can't wrap my head around is how your clan survived the destruction of the last Whirlpool village. Like I said at the council meeting, I will not say how we survived. If we are going to tell you, our Kage will tell you personally. Who is your Kage? And will he be attending the Chunin exams? Sorry, can't say who he is, but as to your other question, yes. I will be leading a team and they will be participating in the exams, hopefully with Naruto in the team as well. Well, it would actually be best if he went as a Whirlpool in the exams. Tsunade turned on Jiraiya, but before she could strike he put a hand up, stopping the woman mid-flight. Sakura and Naruto are far from good terms right now. Sasuke is also in recovery and we don't know if he harbors an ill will towards Naruto, so I think it is best for him to do that, and if he wants to, he can still be a Chunin in the leaf. As much as I hate to admit it, you are right, Jiraiya. But it is still his decision and it is 3 years away. I will be there to say goodbye, but teach the boy well, Jiraiya. And keep an eye on him, Kenshai. Kenshai stood tall, his chakra burning bright with a light aura around him. I will not let him out of my sights now that I have found him. Then he is yours. Now both of you get out, I have some paperwork to do. Jiraiya laughed as he disappeared from the room, with Kenshai walking out the door. Tsunade sighed as she stared at the stack of infinite paperwork in front of her. Even if the job did come with a lot of perks, sometimes being Hokage isn't what it is cracked up to be. Naruto woke up slowly from the light of the sun hitting his face, nature's own personal alarm clock. The light was a small one, the sun barely rising over the village. But it had started the day. Naruto already saw multiple people running around their everyday lives, as if nothing was wrong with the world. It was a happy feeling. Although the village didn't particularly like him, he knew a few who appreciated his actions, his friends included. Naruto enjoyed knowing who he had saved through the years, but also felt remorse as to those he couldn't. Zabuza, Haku, the two who had truly shown him his ninja way. Kimimaro, the one who had grown up in a similar pain he had, only to fall down a dark road. Sasuke came to his mind but quickly shook it away. He hadn't lost his friend yet. But those within the village now, those villagers, did they appreciate what he did for them? The lives he had saved, apparently not from what their actions defined. What did they see that he couldn't? Was it the fox? Most likely, without the beast within this never would have happened. What god did he curse to obtain this curse? Checking the sun's position again, he slightly smiled at the time he had left. There might be enough time to say goodbye personally to some people, maybe a few friends that wouldn't be there. Getting up slowly and walking towards his closet, he chose one of the very similar orange jumpsuits, blue sandals, and fixed his forehead protector upon his forehead, smiling a little as the final touch was put on his outfit. He walked downstairs, each board creaking under his weight. The one thing he wouldn't miss was this place. Too many bad memories, too many things to forget and forgive. Looking past this, he noticed a note lying on the couch, looking like it had been written hastily. Went to pick some stuff up and to talk to a few people. Jiraiya will find you when it is time to go. Kenshai, how does this guy keep getting into my house without a key? Well, I guess he isn't a relative of mine for nothing. Naruto smiled as saw a green pack beside the couch, already containing his ninja tools and the valuables he wanted to bring on the trip. Reaching into one of the pockets, he picked up the picture of Team 7. Gazing at the less experienced forms of himself, Sakura, and Sasuke. The pink-haired girl smiling while the two boys glared at each other, while Kakashi was behind them, seemingly grinning from under his mask. He wondered at the picture for a while, remembering the adventures the team had. Zabuza, the Chunin exams, everything now didn't seem to matter. Sakura was distant, too distant, and who knows if Sasuke would be the same. Ending this train of thought before it got out of hand, he put the picture back and left the pack sitting. Turning quickly towards the door and headed out onto the village. Not bothering to lock the door behind him. Naruto walked down the street solemnly as he saw the glares that followed him. The looks full of hate and disgust for what he had inside him. He clutched his stomach, feeling it turn a little. Naruto knew that they knew of his father, but they didn't care. He was still the demon that no one wanted, until now anyway. The hope that they would accept him was the one of the only things that kept him running. A few waved over to him, smiling a little. Naruto guessed that some people were thankful for what he did, not everyone hated him, at least he had that to count on. Walking for what seemed like an hour, thoughts were freed from his mind. Not thinking, just moving. It felt better that way, living without a mind to think from. Without worries, without hate, hope, fear, it felt good. He looked up to see that he was at the familiar side of the swing in front of the academy, a place full of bad memories. Mainly loneliness, but many other things filled his head as the wooden swing was still before him. Still somehow hanging from the thread that hung by the tree, how could its soul be there? Weather, storms, everything that Mother Nature had thrown at it and it still stood, but why? Why did it continue to hang? It didn't serve a purpose, no one would miss it being gone, so why continue on? Maybe there was something to learn from the plank of wood, maybe. Sitting down, the wood creaked under his weight but still held firm, pushing himself with the tip of his foot, recollecting the sad memories that plagued him on this spot. The swing began to move back and forth in a rhythm. A shadow stood over him as he looked up into a man's brown caring eyes, and a large scar on his nose. "Hey Ruka, what's up? What, can't say goodbye to my favorite student?" He sat down next to Naruto as the boy continued to swing himself slowly. A silence passed between the two, a comfortable one. Each just listening to the wind, passing by without another care. Both men had grown attached to one another in their short times together. Hopefully it could remain that way. Ruka sighed, wanting to break the silence, and began to speak. "If the first day you showed up and told me that you were related to the fourth, I would have never believed you." Naruto stopped swinging at this point, wondering where this was going. "I would be lying if I said I didn't have ill will towards you in the beginning. My parents did die in the Kyuubi attack. When you first showed up, I would have never thought that you would become a shinobi. You couldn't even do a simple clone jutsu?" Naruto was shocked at what his sensei and friend said, but stood silent as he continued. "After the years, however, you started showing something rare in the shinobi world, a will of fire. You would never give up, knowing that they would most likely never accept you. If you failed at a test or jutsu, you would stay up hours on end to perfect it. Your self-made jutsu was anything but crude, but it did show that you had talent beyond anything I would have ever dreamed. I eventually stopped seeing you for the Kyuubi in you and saw you as a person. You have made me proud to be called your sensei over the years. Beating Haku, Neji, Gaara, and even bringing back Sasuke was something no one would ever dream that you would be able to do." He placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder as the boy held tears within the eyes. "I am proud of the ninja you have become. I want you to go, and when you come back, to show this village what you can do, and prove them wrong. Because real strength, Naruto, doesn't come from one's jutsu or skill." He pointed at Naruto's chest, right at the beating heart. "It comes from here." Naruto hugged Ruka as he tried to wipe away his tears. The sadness finally broke, every feeling he had held inside of him burst. This was what he needed, a person that he could trust. Emotional release, someone whose shoulder he could cry on. They eventually let go as Naruto looked up at him. "I will become stronger, I will show them just what an Uzumaki can do. I won't be able to say goodbye at the gate, Naruto. I have work to do, so I am saying it now. Thank you, Ruka-sensei, for all that you have done for me, but why did you say those things? I know that you have conflicted feelings about this new village. I am afraid that you may stay there. And if you do, then I would hold the regret of never saying what was on my mind. Don't change, Naruto, no matter what happens." "Are you kidding, sensei? I will never change, believe it." Ruka nodded, smiling, patted his head and turned back towards the academy, closing the doors behind him, leaving a smiling Naruto swinging happy with a grin on his face. It was noon now as the villagers made their way across the city, continuing with their daily lives. In the Ikaraku stand you could find a young blonde-haired boy and a pile of ramen bowls to the side of him. The two cooks behind the counter making small talk to the boy as he ate, enjoying each other's company. On closer inspection, though, one could find a close sign on the front of the stand. Naruto smiled as he finished another bowl, in a record of a few gulps. "Thanks, Toki, you didn't have to close the shop just for me." The elder man shrugged as he made another batch of Naruto's favorite, a tall and tanned man. He was well into his elder years but still running the stand strong. Wearing a chef's hat and an apron bearing the stand's symbol upon it. I wanted to treat my favorite customer personally before he goes. You are going for a while, so I wanted to make it special. Naruto smiled as he started on another bowl of the noodles from Gods. The group turned as a villager walked into the shop. You didn't have to see the bottle of sake in his hands to tell he was drunk. Ayam turned, the daughter of the shop owner. She was a younger woman with fair skin, dark brown hair and eyes, also wearing an apron bearing the stand symbol. Sorry sir, we are closed for right now, come back another time. The villager turned to Naruto, and scoffed, taking another swig of the drink. So you would treat the demon and not me, harlot. Naruto buried his head sadly but was shocked when Ayam threw kunai from under the counter at the man's head. Get out and never come back. The man ran out of the stand fearing for his life. Taki laughed heartedly, not caring about the lost customer. He did notice the expression on Naruto's face and smile slightly. It's what he gets. I didn't know you guys cared for me that much. Ayam turned to the boy, a wide smile on her face. Of course we do, you are practically family to me. Taki laughed again behind the counter. And I don't make tens upon tens of bowls of this stuff for anyone you know, you're my best customer. Thanks you guys, really. Ah, it's no trouble. When you get back there will be a bowl on us alright. Naruto's eyes widened at the prospect of a free bowl of his addiction. That would be awesome. The two chefs behind the counter turned as Jiraiya came into the stand. His face was a little saddened at the display but it disappeared as he pointed towards the gates. Sorry kid, time to go. Tuki quickly put the new bowl of the addiction into a container. For the road. Naruto happily accepted the food and thanked Tatsu as he left with the white-haired Sannin. Naruto and Jiraiya made their way towards the gates. Naruto grinned when he saw the Rookie 12, and Sensei waiting for him. He looked around the group before turning to Kakashi. A look of a mixture of anger and confusion on his face. Where are Sakura and Sasuke? Sasuke is still in recovery so he cannot see you off. Sakura however I don't know, I'm sure she is busy with something if she isn't here. The blonde ninja turned to Kenshai as he mentally sighed, wanting to be back at the whirlpool at the earliest. I will give you 2 minutes. Smiling, the boy left to join his friends for the last time in a few years. Turning, the silver-armored man saw the one known as Kakashi and the Jounin waving over towards him, wanting to talk from what it looked like. He did despise meeting new people but they did trust him enough to take Naruto on a training pilgrimage. Even if Jiraiya was coming along it must have taken a lot from them. Walking, he took measures to generate his imposing aura, just in case they wanted to try something, as unlikely as it was he didn't want to take chances. Each of them held a semi-grimace and scowl, save for Guy as the best he could muster was a neutral expression due to his youth. Kakashi was the first to speak. You know of the dangers that Naruto holds, right? Don't worry Kakashi, I and my village have taken precautions for the fox, in fact it is going to be one of the things we focus on in training. Making a connection and at least allowing Naruto to access his chakra without losing his mind. Asuma coughed a little as the declaration was made. You realize that is impossible, right? The thing is a beast, not Naruto the fox. I know what you meant, no need to explain. And these things to have minds of their own, maybe he felt threatened when he attacked the village. Threatened? That thing? Haven't you always been taught by your mothers and fathers that usually the most scary things are more afraid of you, than you are of them? This may be the case. But in any way you shall see when we get back. The group nodded, even considering this new fact that Kenshai had brought to light. As the group scattered, Kakashi handed him a small scroll. This contains a way for Naruto to communicate with. Keep it. What? I would like for Naruto to concentrate on his training and learning about the village. To do that he would need all attention on the task at hand, no distractions. He won't forget his friends, or his original sensei? He will be back, no need to be so heartbroken. Kakashi nodded, slowly putting the scroll away with some hesitation before looking back at Kenshai. This man was defiantly not like his sister. More serious and to the point, although having a slight air of naivety around him. It could be switched in an instant. Well, at the very least, Naruto was in good hands, and hopefully he would learn something from this. And maybe come to forgive the Leaf for what they did. He sure as hell won't forgive these villagers so easily. Kenshai returned to the group, noticing that the conversations had begun to die down. Probably because of him, a thought told him to be the silencer of the conversation. But then looking to the side of the group he noticed Naruto handing Hinata a small gem, attached to a rope. A necklace of some kind, a rather large blue gem attached to the small rope. With a small mutter of thanks and a tint of red, Hinata accepted the gift. Hold on to it, I may lose it along the way. Looking back at the group, each had their own reaction of happiness. Even the Obarim had some tint of a smile. Did everyone know of that girl's crush on his nephew? Well, it didn't look like he did. How long has this been going on? Whatever the case, it wasn't his business. For now. After Naruto left, Kenshai walked up to the Hyuga and handed her a small scroll, the small girl shying away from the man. What's this? He leaned in to whisper in her ear. This is one of Naruto's techniques, or so I heard from Jiraiya. It contains everything you need to know about the jutsu. Learn it and I think Naruto will be impressed. Hinata nodded, taking the scroll and running off to join the rest of the group. Kenshai handed Naruto his pack, running the strap around his shoulder. Ready? Naruto nodded and smiled as his friends called out behind him, I want a rematch when you come back, Naruto. I won't tolerate how you beat me last time. Don't let the fires of youth run out, Naruto. Just come back alive, troublesome. Hinata held the scroll in her arms tightly, muttering a small promise. I will become stronger, for you, Naruto-kun. Naruto gave one final wave at his friends before Kenshai held Jiraiya and Naruto's shoulders and they vanished in a red flash. Sasuke watched from a nearby rooftop as the events unfolded. I will not accept that he is from a clan rivaling the Uchiha. It has to be a lie. He saw a man dressed almost entirely of armor talk to Naruto. A strong air around him, but nothing to that of what the stories told. That must be Kenshai, doesn't look that tough. Naruto, no matter how much you train, he would never give up, he would never be the weaker one again. You will pay for taking my chance at Uchi away from me. His eyes narrowed and smiled wickedly as Hinata took a small gem in her hands. Knowing that this was the first Hokage's necklace, a special one that he won in a bet with Tsunade, not something he would part with lightly. It seems that you have something in the village that you hold dear now, Naruto. You took away my chance at peace, now it might be time to take yours, in time. Sasuke covered his eyes as a red flash covered Naruto and his sensei. He blinked as they seemed to disappear. This must be the jutsu that affected everyone so heavily, that however will not get the best of him. Don't worry, Dobi, when you come back I will make sure to not make the mistake of letting you live back at the valley. All you hold dear will be gone or mine. Standing up and holding his right shoulder in pain, scoffing in what used to be Naruto's direction, and took off back to the hospital. Anger filling the void created by the loss suffered during the valley. A void that would never be filled. A endless hunger that consumes, and eventually destroys. But not before destroying another. The village gates disappeared around Naruto in a red flash as he appeared in the middle of a forest standing by the side of a cliff, or mountain to be more specific. The sudden change in scenery and elevation caused both Jiraiya and Naruto to stumble slightly before regaining their wits. Naruto looked up and realized that it was the side of a mountain, then taking another look around, it was the only definable feature in the forest. Whatever village that was supposed to be here was, well, not. I thought we were going to the village? Kenshai nodded, smirking a little at the young man's na-a-tilde-macron-v nature. And we are here. He walked up to the side of the mountain as a whirlpool seal seemed to glow from the rock, in a strange blue color. Naruto stared at it in awe as Kenshai started to explain. It only glows when an Uzumaki or someone who is trusted of the Uzumakis is present. Kenshai cut his palm by his sword quickly, having the red color spill from the cut, and placed it against the seal. It stopped glowing and a pitch black cave appeared to the side of the trio. That is so cool. We needed to be able to hide ourselves, and this mountain seemed to do the trick. The blood is a little harsh, but we needed to stay hidden. Oh Naruto, watch this. He then turned to Jiraiya, making a bowing gesture and voice filled with a mocking tone. The great Sennin should be able to go first, Naruto. Jiraiya scoffed, crossing his arms a little and getting into Naruto's personal bubble mockingly. Almost oblivious towards Kenshai's mocking tone. Well, at least someone knows respect around here. Naruto turned to Kenshai as he grinned and placed a hand on his shoulder, telling him to wait silently, and to watch. Jiraiya entered the cave, and exited it the same way he went in, arms crossed and with a winning grin on his face. In which that faded in the moment he exited the mountain. And what? Jiraiya turned around and made a sprint towards the cave, and came out running. Immediately turning to Kenshai accusingly. What is this? Kenshai contained his laughter, unlike Naruto, as he explained. Another seal. If someone did get past the blood seal, they would need a living, breathing Uzumaki to be able to enter the cave, or if you have special permission. So no matter how many times you tried alone, Jiraiya, you would not be able to enter. Jiraiya raised his eyes a little. Even Minato couldn't really do something like this. I heard the Uzumaki clan was good at seals, but this is ridiculous. This one was designed by our cage, so it is supposed to be powerful. Jiraiya nodded as Naruto turned to Kenshai. The man turning towards the cave and making his way inside. Come on, let's go. They nodded as they followed Kenshai into the cave. Jiraiya half expected to be at the entrance again, but when they exited the cave, Naruto's jaw dropped and Jiraiya took a double take. Welcome to the Ueshiage. The village first was huge. The entire mountain was hollowed out to make room for it. It was off the ground and was supported by a giant stone pillar in the middle of the village and multiple smaller ones on the edge of the village, giving the main one more support. The village also had a tall wall surrounding the entirety of it. Besides the stone bridge that they stood on, now they spotted 3 others that came from different directions of the mountain, connecting to different parts of the village. The one they were standing on north, east, and west, the southern one missing entirely. The village had to be supported because the village was surrounded by water, with whirlpools appearing in random spots at different times below. Naruto looked up to see the sky, but was greeted by a single hole in the top of the mountain that shone light throughout the village. Surprisingly enough, there were clouds there as well, a bright white color. Kenshai looked at him, then back to the sky, pointing towards it and explaining the existence of it. We have to get sunlight somehow, and with the water evaporating, it creates a miniature atmosphere near the top of the cave, so we get rain. Are you not entertained? Jiraiya shook his head, still in awe. How did you get the water in here? Kenshai shrugged. I don't exactly know. Nor do I know about how the whirlpools form. You will have to ask someone else for that info. Let's go, we will have time for sightseeing later. Jiraiya shook his head and returned to reality, watching as a fairly large group of people walked past one of the bridges and exited the mountain. There seems to be too many people for in just one clan. You are right. There are others here that are their own clan or in just travelers. The clans that are here rarely possess any special type of jet, so they were just abandoned. So they help restore the village and they get a home. Jiraiya nodded, taking this in as they started crossing the bridge. After crossing the stone bridge, Naruto was in awe of the village. It seemed much more active than the Leaf, strangely happier, more down to earth. There was almost construction everywhere and people running about their daily lives, building the village from the ground up. Although the village was big, most of it was barely finished buildings and shops, it still had a long way to go. A grin was plastered on his face the entire time he walked. Naruto's smile grew bigger as people would stop to say hello to him and Jiraiya. His smile dropped when he saw a look of pure depression on Kenshai's face. He turned to see that a group of ninja from the whirlpool had seen Kenshai and had given him glares, the same that Naruto used to get in the Leaf, ones of hate. As they traveled, he noticed more and more glances, curses, and other things thrown at Kenshai, but he was seemingly brushing these off like it was nothing. His head held high with pride. Naruto was about to ask him of this when he caught Jiraiya's glance that said we will ask him about it later. Naruto nodded as he continued to follow Kenshai towards a tower. Alright, here is the main Uzukage office. The tower seemed to be just like the Hokage office, only connected by 4 main roads that lead into a courtyard, by each direction, north, south, east, and west. It was near the southern edge of the village, where a bridge was missing. The courtyard was relatively simple, a large area set with stone, a small wall circling the tower but arching the roadways. They entered the tower. As they stepped in, a young woman behind the front desk glared at Kenshai. You found another? You left without any warning. Yes, this is Naruto Uzumaki, and I will tell the cage personally of why I was gone. She smiled at the boy, quickly changing the expression for Kenshai. It's nice to meet you. Get up there, Kenshai, you shouldn't keep him waiting. Kenshai bowed respectively before heading up a flight of stairs followed by Naruto and Jiraiya. As they traveled through a hallway, Kenshai seemed to fall into depression more and more, to the point where he looked a nervous wreck. Naruto was worried now. What could have happened with him? Kenshai stopped at a door labeled conveniently Cage Office and gripped the handle. The man, however, stopped for a moment before opening the door fully. Naruto entered the room to see an old man behind the desk. The sun seemed to shine on him through the windows behind. The room was almost identical to the Hokage's, covered with scrolls and papers, each looking semi-important, but instead of scattered they were organized. Ready if needed to be called upon. His hair was pure white and was long in the back and hanged around his eyes. The face was slightly wrinkled and showed many scars. Wearing a pure black armor set that ran down his full body, with the Uzumaki swirl on both shoulders and his chest emblazoned in red. He wore black gloves and greaves, but they seemed to have writing on them that moved around the material unnaturally. The man looked up at Naruto with pure white eyes. He's blind. The old man grinned, a little lopsided, but there, like happiness was a feeling foreign to him. Naruto Uzumaki, I have waited a long time to meet you. My name is Uzumaki, I am the Uzukage and I am your grandfather. His eyes never left Kenshai as he spoke the statement, his attention now entirely on the man. White eyes filling the void blue eyes made his personality doing a complete turnaround since the declaring of blood between the two. Going from what seemed to be easygoing, to a slight level of anger and annoyance. Seems you did something right after all. Thank you for saying goodbye, by the way. Kenshai shifted a little, eyes subconsciously now focused on the floor beneath them. Jiraiya on one end was just listening to the conversation, trying to pick out pieces of the man's past and the bond between the two men, which was not looking good. Naruto on the other hand felt a rage build up inside, unleashing it upon the grandfather. What gives you the right to talk to him like that? I don't care if you are my gramps, I'll pound you into the ground. Kenshai placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder, putting slight pressure upon the touch, voice reassuring. Just calm down, Naruto. But, please, just calm down. I made a mistake of not saying that I was leaving. I deserve this. Naruto nodded as he turned back to the older man, shifting a little notably. Maybe the elder was also slightly nervous. There was also what looked to be water forming in the blank and vacant eyes, but holding them back for some reason. Why would the man feel the need to cry? Regaining slight composure, his attention turned to Naruto. I am sure you have a lot of questions for me. Go ahead and ask, I have some time. Naruto nodded, never looking away from the man with a slight rage. Although he seemed to be nice in some cases, he held something against the son. It would be only a matter of time to find out why. Can you tell me about my mother? He shook his head dejectedly, sighing a little before beginning. Kushina, my daughter was lost to us at a young age. Even before this village was established, there were pockets of us, scattered but still part of one clan. I was the leader of one of those pockets. After we were attacked one day, I lost her. I didn't know where she was and it broke me to think that she was dead, so I created this village, in the hopes that no one can suffer loss as I did. But if you want more specific details, ask Kenshai. Naruto noticed his name had a slight venom to it but let it go again. Are you blind? The elder nodded and raised a hand. Naruto stared in awe as the writing around the hand molded into an eye with a slit for a pupil. The seals themselves weaving around the formed eye, power emanating from within the figure. These are my eyes and ears. I have studied seals for a long time, even before I was blind. With these I can see everything that you can. The young woman from the front desk came into the room, brushing quickly past Kenshai and Jiraiya and whispered to the Yuzukage. The cage looked slightly angry at the message but said nothing of it. Maybe hiding something or none of their concerns. It wouldn't surprise the blonde if it was the first option. She left the room quickly as it turned back to the group. I'm sorry Naruto, but I have to send you away. I am about to be in a meeting. If you like we can chat another time. Naruto nodded. As much as the man slightly angered him, it would be nice to see what the village had to offer or what the elder himself did. It also wouldn't hurt to talk to the rest of his family. Getting to know them might lead to some things about Kushina. The more info, the better. His attention returned to reality as he respectfully bowed towards Jiraiya and turned his voice towards Kenshai. Take them to their rooms. Naruto will stay with I, and show them where they will train. With all due respect Lord Yuzukage. I would like Naruto to stay with me. The elder stopped for a moment, looking towards Kenshai then back to the blonde. Almost evaluating the both of them, like a test. If it is alright with him, go. Kenshai stood up and led the others out the door. The trio followed, Jiraiya noticeably quiet during the leaving and Naruto calming down. Only the armored ninja was in a range of emotions. Not wanting to be within that room any more than he needed to be. Naruto grumbled under his breath as they walked through the village. Arms crossed and tracing his steps behind Jiraiya's, the two men talking about something. Having to do with alliances, or politics, or whatever, that didn't really concern him right now. What did concern him was the treatment these villagers gave him. It was the exact same thing back at the Leaf. If this is what he should expect here, then what makes it better than the Leaf? They would only be the same. And nothing would change, the pain would only grow. They were out of the center of the village and near the outskirts. Kenshai claimed that he lived out here, because of the less distance to the training grounds. So most of the houses looked nothing less than humble wooden houses, not the slightly massive apartment buildings and houses in the center of the village. And in that time, the glares continued but Kenshai all the while brushed them off, his pride intact. But Naruto however was growing with hatred of each passing glance, until the bubble that contained it burst. Kenshai, why do you let them treat you like this? They just walk all over you and you let them. Turning away from Jiraiya, Kenshai put a hand up, silencing Naruto. Rubbing his temples, it looked like he was in a deep train of thought, until he began to speak. I don't let them walk over me, I only accept the inevitability of the human heart's love for hatred. Everyone needs to feel the emotion, it gives some strive as to what to not like, or what not to do. I accept the emotion of these people not out of my own hatred, but to help theirs. I hope that one day that anger may be gone, but for however long, I will hold the burden. Once upon a time I made a choice that affected so many people in ways I couldn't have begun to understand or believe. Not many people could understand, nor accept what I did. I shoulder it, in the hopes that they accept me as well as their anger. One day I will tell you, but it will be when you have accepted the inevitability of your own anger. You will not understand, and I do not expect you to. Just hold the words to heart, and one day they will come to light. Naruto personally had no idea what he was talking about, but if this was something that needed to wait, then it would so. Pain was one of the things he truly understood, and if Kenshai wanted to wait to explain his, then that would be it. He only wished he could have done something about it. But nodding and accepting his statement, Jiraiya turned to him, curiosity in the eyes. So where are we going? Actually we are already here. Naruto looked at the home to his right. It was a small cabin made out of wood. It looked barely big enough to fit 3 people, let alone a group of them. The condition was not unlike that of the others. but catching some seals that ran across the wood, he figured it was probably security measures. They have been probably used before. Scanning over the place again, it seemed to grow smaller and smaller with each glance. This doesn't look like it will fit all of us. I suspected that even with my warning Jiraiya will go and do something immoral. So he will live in an empty house beside ours. Jiraiya laughed heavily, smiling widely as if he were proud of the deeds that would be committed. You know me already. He tossed Jiraiya a small key, the Sannin playing with it slightly before noticing Kenshai pointing towards a house a few down from his. This is to your house, over there. Jiraiya turned to look at the simple house building, identical to Kenshai's own but minus the security seals. Those must have been placed by the armored ninja himself apparently. Another testament to the hatred towards him, a question that apparently would not be answered till a later time. With a slight nod and a glaze over the house, Jiraiya smiled slightly. All right, not bad. As Jiraiya walked off to his home, a slight skip the step oddly, Naruto followed Kenshai to his. The first room was separated. To the right it seemed to be a living room but the left seemed to be more of a kitchen. Naruto looked forward and noticed a hallway with 3 doors. 2 one the side and 1 at the end. Kenshai spoke behind, a yawn escaping the man and with metal ringing showed he was stretching. It had been a long day. Your room is on the left, bathroom on the right, mine is at the end of the hallway. I'll let you put away your things. Naruto nodded as he headed for his room. It was simple, just a bed, nightstand, closet, and 1 window, a guest room. Then again, he shouldn't complain, it was almost the same size of what he had back at Koona. In a swift motion, opening his pack and placed Team 7 picture on the stand. With a slight sigh of content, and exiting the room he found Kenshai waiting for him outside. Toying with the crimson blade, twirling the blade and stabbing at air, fighting an invisible enemy almost. But noticing the boy, Kenshai quickly stopped and scratched the back of his head slightly before gesturing towards the door. Come on Naruto, I want you to see something, Jiraiya will be along shortly. Following Kenshai through the village, it became apparent to Naruto that the homes became more sparse, and the foliage around the area grew in size and frequency. It must have been a more underdeveloped part of the village. Turning away from the area around, Naruto saw him stop at a gate that was arguably comparable to the main leaf gate. Naruto could see slight branches hanging above the tall wall that seemed to separate the area from the rest of the village. The wall itself came around and connected back to the main one, encircling the village, an enclosed part of the village. But whatever for? Kenshai nodded towards a ninja beside the gate as it opened slightly, letting them enter. Inside was a large forest. If Naruto knew better he could have sworn it was like the one outside the leaf but denser. The trees less scattered but put more into rows and structured, man-made by the look of the place. Multiple training grounds were shown on a simple board when they entered, the gate shutting behind them. Naruto looked around in awe of the forest. This was unnatural in the least sense, a forest made in the middle of a mountain. It was starting to get ridiculous on what these ninja could do. How? I don't know, I guess they built it or something. We need to close the gates because there are some very dangerous animals in here, bears, boars, the occasional jaguar. Occasionally. They continued on until they reached a clearing in the trees, a small field devoid of trees in a circle-like area, covered with short grass. It looked battle damaged, cracked earth in some areas and a few trees stripped of bark. This place was used for fighting, or had remnants of it. If the look of the area had anything to do with what was to come, Naruto was not going to like it. This is where we will train. We will meet here every day for the next 2 years, we have a lot to make up on, and so little time to do it. You will be worked hard Naruto. Although I am your uncle, I did not acquire my current power by sitting on the couch. Remember Naruto, I am also a sensei, so I will be training you and us Kenshai sensei? Naruto turned as he saw the people who called out Kenshai. They were both around Naruto's age. One was a boy, he looked skinny as the clothes he wore looked extremely loose. Hair was shaven off but not completely bald, which actually looked well on him since he had a dome-shaped head. He was also tall, more than Naruto by a few feet. What was left of his hair showed that it used to be a black color. The protector hanged on the neck, showing the swirl of the Yuzu village. Wearing a face mask much like Kakashi Sensei's that was pure black, concealing the lower part of his face, and had bright green eyes, fair-skinned. By his face type, under the mask might have contained some pretty solid facial features, even for someone as young as he. Wearing a long-sleeve shirt colored black and wore dark green pants with a lot more shuriken holders than one needed. He had his hands in one of his many pockets and his eyes seemed to give off a "I don't care" expression. The other one was a girl. She had shorter than normal brown hair in the front and back that had her bangs swept to the side, skin was pale and had bright blue eyes. She was taller than Naruto but not by much. Her smile was wide and seemed infectious. The way she presented herself also made it seem that her personality was much kinder than the other partner. She wore a green vest with no sleeves that buttoned up the middle, wearing the proctor tied around her right arm, a mesh armor vest showing underneath the original vest, black pants that seemed to hug her legs and had a lance attached to her back. Naruto didn't know if Jiraiya was rubbing off on him, but he couldn't help but notice she did have a figure, even for being around 16. Kenshai smirked a little at the duo's entrance. "Naruto, these are my other two students. How long have you two been there?" The boy looked Naruto over, a vacant but seemingly calculating expression in his eyes. Almost judging him in the same way it did, but after his initial checkup, the glare was removed but replaced with a small exhale. "We have been coming here since your absence. Casa kept making us run drills repeatedly. I can already tell the amount of work we are going to have to put into you. My name is Aragan Midori." Midori spoke cleanly, he was not joking in any sense of the word. With his voice carrying a slight accent to it as well only increased the amount of serious that carried with his voice. But at this Naruto grew slightly irritated, making sure for him to notice. "What is that supposed to mean? You don't seem that strong even if you are a Uzumaki. How do you know who I am?" The girl laughed, it seemed sweet but not without a slight mocking tone within. Only slightly though, not enough to cause even more irritation, as if she was surprised almost. "It's not every day that another Uzumaki comes into the village. You are just about the talk of the town. My name is Hanakasai. Don't worry about Midori here, you warm up to him." Midori shrugged as Kasai hit the man playfully. Even through the introduction with Kasai, Naruto caught that she was judging him as well, but not near what Midori was. The glazed look in the man's eyes returned and spoke with a slightly irritated voice. "Either way we are going to be working together, so I hope we get along." Kasai walked over to Naruto and seemed to look him over, by running up and down his slightly smaller figure, poking him in the sides. This was only for show, the blonde knew that Kasai had looked him over enough to judge his strength. But surpassing laughter from the girl's prodding, he made out what the girl was asking. "So what jutsus can you use?" Shadow Clone, Rasengan, Toad Summons, and Midori was next to speak, his voice slightly confused. "That's it, 3, and Toads? Doesn't that require a summoning contract?" "Yeah, I was taught by Jiraiya. The Toad Sage? Might be useful after all." Before the blonde could explode on the masked ninja, he noticed that Kasai turned to Kenshai, pointing a finger accusingly at him. "You know he won't survive day one. I believe he will do fine. It isn't just the jutsu that make that ninja. I remember a time when you didn't know squat." Kasai crossed her arms and stared at her teacher, with a slight annoyance while Midori walked over to him. The glazed look gone, and replaced by seriousness. "So should we see what he can do, or are we just going to stand here and admire? I will take all of you on again, first separately then together as a team. Kasai and Midori will go first so that way Naruto can observe your skills, then he will go." The trio nodded as Midori stepped forward. "I will get my turn out of the way." Kasai turned to Naruto, a slight warning in her voice. You might want to back up. She retreated to a nearby tree as Naruto followed, sitting next to her on the branch. Swinging his feet over the side as Kasai stood on the branch, leaning on the tree itself. So what do you know about Kenshai's skills? Naruto scratched his head in actually contemplation. Even though he knew the man was strong, possibly near Kakashi's level, his accurate skills were beyond him. He is fast, I know that. And with his sword he seems half impossible to beat. He challenged the Hokage and several other nin at once, and seemed confident that he would win. But I have only heard him fight once. What do you mean heard? He made me cover my eyes. Also he did that jutsu? What do you mean? Let's say if he does it again you will not want to cover your eyes. It is amazing and horrifying at the same time. Naruto scratched his head at this but turned to the battle. Kenshai stood on the opposite of Midori and lightly gripped his blade. It seemed to glow in anticipation. Both men had lost the aura of joking and the vacancy, only replaced by concentration. When you are ready. Midori nodded. He reached into his multiple shuriken holders and threw 10 into the air, making a hand sign as the action was performed, one almost unknown to Naruto. Chakra infusion, sword dance. The shuriken hovered in the air for a moment, suddenly stopping and spinning extremely fast before enveloping with chakra and transforming into bright blue blades, complete with square hand guards and a laced hilt. The blade slowly fell down around Midori and circled him as he got into his battle stance, crouching slightly with both hands in front of his face, clenched into fists and with his right foot forward, turning his body sideways. Naruto stared at the jutsu. What was that? It's his own jutsu? He infuses his special chakra into the shuriken, turning them into any type of weapon he can think of. And what's more is that after that he can control them willingly without having to even make another hand sign. By his mind almost. He says that with it, the swords are still connected to his chakra system that is running through his body. Midori claims that is as easy as controlling his chakra on the inside. So it is like a separate chakra system and yet connected, like controlling the blades, is like controlling himself or his own chakra system. Hell, it is still confusing to me. Midori grabbed one of the swords from the air and charged. Kenshai stood ready, sword in front of his body and body tilted to the side as Midori flicked his wrist. The swords surrounded Kenshai in a blinding and almost instantaneous movement, in a circle-like pattern. He was unfazed though as Midori leapt into the air and brought his sword down. With a quick movement the two blades collided, with Midori being on the losing side as his blade was knocked back a few feet along with his body being flung back a few more feet, falling upon the ground with a thud. Still ready for more however, slamming a fist upon the dirt he charged again. Grabbing his blade and launching it at Kenshai with a high velocity that almost seemed like a blur to Naruto. The sword was only a few feet from Kenshai when it seemed to evaporate in midair, leaving no trace of its existence. Midori stepped back and flicked his wrist, sending the rest of the blades that encircled the man towards his head, save for one. In that moment Kenshai's blade glowed red and a dome of wind appeared, waving wildly around Kenshai's form, seemingly evaporating and blocking each of the blades that Midori sent, before smirking and charging with the crimson blade in hand. Naruto turned to Kasai for an explanation, but she was already ahead of him. It's his defense. When he goes into battle he activates it. It creates a wind dome around Kenshai that he can bend to his will. Kenshai's chakra goes into his blade that sends out a pulse, disrupting the air around him and adding his chakra to it. And from that he can make it into an invisible blade or an overpowered shield by manipulating the chakra in the air around him. He tried to teach us both it, but we don't have his affinity for wind style. The silver armor ninja moved fast, rushing Midori in a small time frame. Kenshai was about to crash into Midori when the bald man threw another shuriken, but instead it became a shield, blocking the strike from Kenshai. Midori then gripped the free blade and slashed through the barrier, making Kenshai back away and disappear in a red flash. Kenshai suddenly reappeared behind Midori and brought his blade down to strike through the boy. Midori saw this and turned, bringing his own blade to defend. But the armored ninja vanished again, appearing on the other side and kicked under Midori's legs, tripping him. falling heavily and landing on his back with Kenshai's blade at his throat within the moment. Sighing, the green-eyed ninja accepted defeat. Rubbing his temples and lying upon the grass for a moment. My blades are still not powerful enough. Kenshai stretched out a hand, the other accepting it and lifted to full height. The problem lies with your chakra control. I think you are still putting too much into how the blades look like instead of how much damage they do. Also stop sending them all at once, it never works. Got to have some flair in battle. That flair is going to get you killed. He is right. Naruto turned as Jiraiya landed next to him, hanging his legs over the branches Naruto did. Kenshai, seeing the seinen, bowed mockingly and spoke with what seemed to be a high regard for the man. Nice for you to join us, O powerful seinen. The other two students were slightly in awe of the seinen, although they were sackholded. The stories behind each one came into the village somehow. And to say that they were powerful was an understatement. Midori had a hard time contemplating on how Naruto managed to get the man to train him and how he was going to train them as well. While Kasai wondered on just how powerful this man truly was, stories and rumors were one thing, but seeing it in action was another. But quickly removing their viewpoints, both returned to a state of readiness and calm. Meanwhile Jiraiya mumbled something about shoving his sword down a very dark place as Kenshai pointed towards Kasai, signaling her turn to fight. She gave Naruto a weak smile. Wish me luck. She jumped off the tree as Midori took her spot, leaning his back against the tree in the same fashion the girl had done. Naruto turned to him questioningly. Why don't you try something other than blades? Well, they are the weapons that take the least amount of chakra. I just need to control it better and they will be strong enough to break his barrier. That is my goal. Why don't you put them more on defense around you? That way you can block when needed if he teleports again and you will have a couple extra blades around you to attack and defend. It also should be easier to track yourself than someone who is faster than you. I have been trying, but it is hard to concentrate on making the blades follow me while fighting off an enemy. Maybe with time it will be better. But how come she is so nice to you? Huh? When I first showed up, she tried to kill me. Literally. Kenshai had to pull her off me and stick her to a tree. I heard that Midori. Naruto could see his eyes bulge as Kasai turned around with anger in her eyes, her hands on her hips and with a glare that could crush any man's spirit. Kasai, we have a match, remember? Oh right. Kasai unclipped her lance, whirling it around her right shoulder, catching it with her left hand and grinding it up to a standard form, the tip pointed straight at Kenshai's head. The trick was slightly for show but gave Naruto a better look at the weapon. It was simple with a black shaft connecting the two parts. The top of the lance was a dragon that looked like it was spitting out the blade as it came to a point, the lower part was just cut off but looked like it could have been improved upon. Kenshai's blade gleamed as he brought it to his side, ready for battle and signaling he was ready. In that moment Kasai charged and spun her lance in a furious motion, before the tip rested towards Kenshai. Water style, water dragon. A large dragon shot out of the staff, charging Kenshai, made entirely of water and with a force. Kenshai's blade glowed, with a silent jutsu. A shockwave was cast from the sword, silver in color, and cut completely through the dragon, cutting it in half lengthwise. Water shooting across the area and drenching the area around both combatants. Kasai was already moving as the shockwave was thrown. Sparks flew as Kasai assaulted Kenshai, the two blades connecting with every flurry of Kasai's attacks, almost a blur to Naruto, but Kenshai was barely moving his sword to block each attack. In between each attack Naruto could barely make out Kasai letting go of her staff for a split second to make a hand sign, then beside her a blue figure rose from the earth. As it fully rose, Naruto noticed it looked exactly like Kasai, staff and all. The blue clone grabbed her own staff before charging the sensei. Midori turned to Naruto, already expecting the blonde would need an explanation. After image, it is special to her clan as few can obtain the jutsu. The clone is then attached to the original's mind so that way they can fight in perfect sync. It is another being but yet connected to the same nervous system, so she can see what it sees and the two's thoughts connect. So unlike your shadow clone, it doesn't need to be destroyed to understand what the other knows, but with having two minds inside your one head, it gets a little crowded. The mind can't handle that kind of pressure for long, but she seems to come out alright. Kenshai blocked Kasai's blow as another came from her after image. He pulled up his defense as it blocked the second blow. Kasai took this opportunity, retreating her staff and slashed at her sensei's feet, but only for him to vanish. She felt cool metal against her neck as Kenshai put his blade to her throat. She put her head down in slight disappointment at the loss. "Why are you so fast?" Kenshai put away his blade, back to his side, ruffling the girl's hair slightly, and voice not without a sarcastic tone. "Why are you so slow?" Kasai clipped her lance to her back as Kenshai nodded towards Naruto. "You're up." Naruto nodded, smiling as he jumped down and Kasai took his place. The man held the blade carefully as Naruto crouched low, a stance he was not really familiar with. "When you are ready, Naruto." He made a hand sign. "Shadow clone jutsu." A smoke screen appeared as around 20 Narutos surrounded Kenshai. 10 of them charged as Kenshai readied himself. Kenshai knocked away a 2 with his wind barrier, sending them flying, and pulled out his sword, but instead of a full-on assault waited, wanting the boy to attack. To judge what Naruto already knew, to get a feel for what he could learn. Dodging with ease and blocking his sloppy kicks and punches, he evaluated Naruto's fighting style. In all actuality, boy had none. It was a street brawl type of fighting he was using, one that he must have learned living on his own and without a taijutsu master to teach him. Kenshai smirked at this. It was possibly one of the best and no one knew it. That meant that Naruto knew how to fight dirty, using his environment and figure out advantages against his enemy. The other would be consumed with having honor. Naruto didn't have to worry about that, and with no style the enemy, he could possibly have an advantage that way. In any case, it was time to end this battle, show the boy he isn't a sensei for nothing. 3 were taken out with the first swipe of his sword, a wide arc-like slash. The other 5 pulled out a kunai and leapt into the air, a fierce battle cry escaping them. Only to be met with the furious sounds of hand signing, and chakra building in the air around them. The wind shifted slightly, but by that point the clones knew they were done for. Wind style, wind pillar. A whirlwind appeared around Kenshai, blocking and throwing them back and smashing into the ground, vanishing. One of the clones threw a smoke bomb at Kenshai before dispelling. It hit his armor, enveloping the man as Kenshai covered his mouth trying to breathe. The attack was elementary, but apparently useful. The smoke around Kenshai glowed blue for a moment. Just now feeling a huge wave of chakra charge for him, quickly diving to the side, barely dodging a blue sphere hurled at him. He backed away as the smoke cleared, finally able to breathe. A shadow passed over Kenshai as he looked up to see the rest of the clones holding blue spheres and charging him. Rasengan barrage. Jiraiya's eyes returned to the battle for a moment. He didn't really know that the kid had unlocked that type of chakra yet. Either that or this was his last resort. He could barely make one Rasengan without messing up, but this many? It was a feat within itself. At least that is how Midori and Kosei as it as well, looking in slight amazement on how the kid could last this long. The kid was out for blood, that was for certain. At least Naruto knew not to hold back against any opponent. Maybe training with Kakashi had its perks after all. If this hit, however, it may be a problem. It also might hurt the kid to use the jutsu, but maybe at a light level it wouldn't do much damage. The kid could recover. At the end of the thought, Kenshai's sword glowed red. The chakra level within exploding for a slight moment. Time slowed. Kenshai felt everything, every wind shift, every spot of dirt upon the skin, and the chakra levels that were heading towards his form. Unleashing the chakra, he teleported behind the group of Narutos. They stared at the man behind him and their eyes grew wide as he flicked his sword, shouting the jutsu name as a large chakra blast rocketed through their forms. Feeling a widespread pain from the air itself and feeling as if their insides were destroyed in an instant. Santetsuken. Naruto could see the wave that was traveling towards them but couldn't move. It was just too fast, impossibly so. The clones instantly dispelled as the shockwave hit, and Naruto felt like he was hit full force by Tsunade, being sent back towards the ground with a thud and groaning in pain slightly. Sighting up, he heard slight laughter, not in mockery but in some sort of pride he noticed. The shadow that passed above him, looking up, was one of a smiling Kenshai. Nice, I never really had to use Zantetsuken before. Reaching out with his hand, the blonde accepted the arm and Kenshai picked up Naruto, the boy brushing himself off. I don't really feel that great though. You'll get over it. Kosai and Midori landed next to Naruto, the girl speaking first. That was pretty good. With the shadow clones and Midori's swords we have a force with us. Naruto nodded as the three turned to Kenshai. Now that all of you have seen each other's skills, let's see how well you work together. The trio stood side by side. Kasai stood ready with her lance, Midori had already readied his shuriken, and Naruto held out a kuani. Kenshai smiled, also in wonder on how well Naruto could take pain. Being hit by Zantetsuken was not a pleasant experience, and the way he just bounced back, some force of will he must have. Remember, go all out or you won't get a scratch on me. Naruto whispered to Midori and Kasai, already forming a slight plan within his mind. Midori, go defense, use your shields to guard us if we miss an attack. Kasai, and I will attack with my shadow clones and her afterimage. He may be overwhelmed, we can't match his speed, so go for numbers. Midori looked over Naruto again. The guy looks stupid but apparently he has a brain when it comes to battle. And with no ulterior plane of his own, it was better than nothing. Alright. Kenshai held his sword lightly at his side, already seeing that they had formed some kind of battle strategy. When you are ready. Midori immediately threw out his shuriken, making 10 shields and 10 swords. The shields surrounded Kasai and Naruto as they charged, and the swords hovered around Midori. Shadow clone jutsu? Two Narutos appeared, one stood by the original preparing a Rasengan and the other behind Kenshai as he and Kasai brought down their weapons at the same time. Kenshai blocked Kasai's attack and used his defense to counter the other Naruto as it flew back and dispelled. Kenshai pushed against his blade, throwing himself back to dodge the attack from Kosai's afterimage that had summoned next to him. Both Kasai's charged as Kenshai skillfully blocked the assault. Sparks flew from each attack from Kosai. When the man tried to gain an advantage, a blue shield appeared and blocked his attack, leaving an opening for Kasai. Kenshai's eyes grew as he barely dodged a glowing blue sword and a lance at the same time, the sword barely grazing his chest while the staff flew by his face in an upward motion. Another sword charged him as Kenshai blocked Kasai's spear and caught the sword with his left hand. He felt a weight on his arm and a sudden blow to the face as Kenshai stumbled back and was now charged by a Naruto clone and Kasai. Huh? He transformed to look like one of Midori's swords and threw himself at me. He could tell that the Naruto clone said something to Kosai, but he couldn't tell what. They charged as he readied himself again, only for the Naruto clone to dispel and Kosai to stick her lance in the ground and leap over Kenshai, climbing several feet in the air. He turned back forward to see a blue sphere inches from his face, already vanishing in a red flash as Naruto hit nothing but air but felt a blow to his back as Kenshai kicked him, sending him flying. Only for him to turn back and see a massive amount of blue swords surrounding him. Midori crashed his hands together as the swords charged the man on all sides. Kenshai closed his eyes and spun his sword in a fan-like motion. Time seemed to slow during this motion, and for a moment, his eyes turned from piercing blue to blood red. Sticking his sword in the ground, the wind dome around him increased in power. The swords stopped as they crashed into his defense, unable to break through. Midori grimaced, feeling a slight strain from trying to break the wind barrier. Come on. The swords glowed brighter as they slowly penetrated his shield, slowly spinning now and cutting into the barrier. Kenshai heard yelling as he looked up to see Naruto holding a Rasengan and Kosai holding her lance to impale Kenshai. The entire lance seemed to dance with lightning. Kenshai braced himself, drawing chakra as the wind dome spun even more violently and the duo crashed into him. Rasengan. Lightning style, Spear of Heaven. Chakra release, Sword Whirlwind. Both of the jutsus hit as Midori's sword spun in a circle as a blue blur cutting into the dome with a force. Kenshai held as they tried to break the barriers, his face grimacing as he could feel the dome slipping. Kenshai gripped his sword and made a hand sign with the other wind style, dome release. The dome shook violently until it seemed to explode, sending Kosai and Naruto flying, landing by Midori, who was already about to collapse from chakra loss. Kenshai's eyes returned to the normal blue as he walked over to the trio. They did very well, at least better than he would have hoped for their first time working as a group. The area around them was almost gone by now, the grass gone and replaced with rubble. Water that had once stained the area filled the cracks in between the earth. Wind now at a standstill, calmer than usual. The guys that handled the areas would have a fit. They never liked the grounds like this, and especially when he did it, since he was a more than once offender of the unlawful deed. Kenshai smiled at the trio, barely noticing their pain. Nice job, you guys. Get up, I'll treat you guys to food for almost beating me. Midori raised a hand, waiting a moment before speaking in a weak voice. A broken bar, don't a broken bar, no a broken bar, if broken bar, a broken bar can move. Kasai slowly sat up, reattaching her lengths to her back, and moved to help the masked ninja stand. Jiraiya smiled, landing by Kenshai, and leaning into a whisper. They just about got you. Yeah, I know. Naruto stood up with effort, stretching his back, and hearing a few bones pop, he turned back to Kenshai. Does this place have anywhere that sells ramen? Kasai took a step back from Midori as the man stood back up on his now, turning to Naruto. Yeah, I know of a place. Naruto jumped into the air as if his injuries didn't exist, for his addiction had returned. Unfortunately for Kenshai, who already was imagining his life savings shrink before his eyes for a noodle. Thank you, Midori, I just may start to like you. When can we go? Kenshai held a hand up first, catching the attention of the trio before him. The aura around the armored ninja becoming slightly serious. Before we go, I want to tell you a few things. First, since the Chunin exams are going to be in a few years, we are going to pick up our training a lot. Second, if you need some help with anything, Jiraiya here will also be able to teach you. I am? Yes, you aren't just going to look at women all day. Jiraiya grumbled under his breath as Kenshai continued, and Naruto, they know of what is in you. Naruto's eyes widened as he turned to his new friends who were nodding. Midori shrugged, his eyes lost somewhere in the forest behind them. As long as it doesn't interfere with missions, I don't care. Kasai smiled reassuringly, placing a hand on his shoulder for support. The rest of the village knows too, they think of you as a hero. And you kind of are. Naruto's jaw dropped. This village? The entire village knew what he had, and they accepted him. The blonde had already accepted that it would take a while before this village liked him, already figuring that the hate towards Kenshai would be the same to him, but nothing really prepared the blonde for this. Holding his head within a palm, a slight pressure was felt as Kasai squeezed the shoulder slightly. You're going to be alright? Yeah, I just never thought people would accept me this quickly. Midori nodded, eyes now resting upon the blonde. Voice was now powerful, removed of its weakened state of before. We aren't as thick-skulled as the leaf, you are your own person, nothing more nothing less, but be warned, some are still going to see you for the fox, but I guess you're used to that. But if we are with you, they will not speak or they will die. Now let's go eat, I'm starving. Naruto raised an eyebrow of how the man was so easily able to talk about murder, then eating in so little time. Midori walked away with Jiraiya and Kenshai, leaving the two slightly behind. Kosai turned to Naruto as they followed them. You are a good fighter, sorry for doubting you. And don't worry about Midori, he is kinda like that. Are you kidding? You two are awesome. I didn't even know you could do half those things with a lance. And I never even heard of a jutsu like his. Kasai smiled widely, listening as the boy began to rant of how cool the two of them were. Voice being raised higher and higher till Naruto sounded like a fanboy, gloating on how he just saw the amazing Midori and Kosai fight. All the while missing out on the strange expressions the group were giving the boy, Jiraiya included. watching with slight judgmental gazes as the boys started to reenact the battle. Kenshai already chalking up another thing he would have to fix in the boy. This was going to be a lot of work. Thank you for watching.